Every school has missing students. But what if yours had students the world itself had forgotten? What if someone could sit beside you in class one day, and by the next morning, no one, not your teachers, not your friends, not even their own family, could remember they had ever existed? At Blackthorn Academy, that wasn't a rumor. It was a secret buried so deep that generations had vanished trying to uncover it. On the edge of a quiet town, hidden behind a forest of towering pines and wrapped in a curtain of almost permanent fog, stood Blackthorn Academy. It was the kind of school people only spoke about in hushed voices. Its stone walls were ancient, darkened by rain and time, and its iron gates seemed to groan whenever they opened, as if protesting the arrival of anyone new. For over a century, Blackthorn had been known as one of the most prestigious boarding schools in the country. Politicians sent their children there. Wealthy families fought for acceptance letters. Its graduates went on to become judges, scientists, CEOs, and world leaders. But beneath its polished reputation lay whispers, strange whispers. Students transferring out rarely spoke about why they left. Some refused to discuss the school at all. Others claimed they simply couldn't remember large portions of their time there. A few would start to explain, only to stop mid-sentence, their expressions going blank, as if a thought had been snatched from their minds. Most people dismissed these stories as exaggerations, until 17-year-old Lena Carter arrived. Lena had never wanted to attend Blackthorn. She preferred her small public school, where everyone knew one another and nothing ever changed. But after her mother received a prestigious teaching fellowship overseas, Lena was given two choices: move halfway across the world or spend her senior year at Blackthorn Academy. She chose Blackthorn. The moment she stepped through the front gates, she felt it, a strange heaviness in the air. Not just the chill of autumn, but something deeper, something watching. The headmaster, Dr. Elias Voss, greeted her personally. He was a tall, silver-haired man with a perfectly tailored suit and a smile so precise it looked practiced. "Welcome to Blackthorn, Miss Carter," he said, shaking her hand. His grip was cold, far colder than it should have been. "I trust you'll find your time here unforgettable." For some reason, the way he said that made Lena uneasy. Her dormitory, Hawthorne Hall, was a sprawling Gothic building with narrow hallways, creaking floors, and windows that rattled at night. Her roommate, Priya Singh, was friendly, sharp-witted, and immediately skeptical of the school's overly formal atmosphere. "This place looks like Hogwarts after a budget cut," Priya joked as they unpacked. Lena laughed, but the tension in her chest remained. During her first week, everything seemed normal. If a little old-fashioned, strict curfews, mandatory uniforms, a relentless academic schedule, the teachers were demanding, the students competitive. Yet there were odd things. Every classroom had one or two empty desks, not unused, empty, as if someone had been sitting there recently. Textbooks were stacked neatly beside them. Names were printed on attendance sheets, but no one ever answered when they were called. When Lena asked about them, teachers would simply continue the lesson. When she asked classmates, they would exchange uncomfortable glances. "Probably just dropouts," one student muttered. But the explanation didn't sit right. One afternoon, while browsing the school library, Lena found an old yearbook from only 3 years earlier. She flipped through the pages, pausing at a photo of a debate team. 7 students stood smiling beneath a championship banner, yet someone had been scratched out, not torn away, not accidentally damaged, deliberately removed. Their outline remained, a silhouette where a person should have been. Lena showed it to Priya. That's creepy, Priya said. Maybe an ex-boyfriend situation. But Lena wasn't convinced. The following day, she noticed something stranger. At lunch, a boy named Noah sat alone near the back of the dining hall. He was pale, with dark circles under his eyes, and he kept glancing over his shoulder as if expecting someone to appear. When Lena sat across from him, he nearly dropped his tray. "You can see me?" he asked. Lena blinked. Yes?" He stared at her for several seconds before leaning forward. "Then listen carefully," he whispered. "If someone disappears from this school, don't ask where they went, and whatever you do, don't let them take your records." Before Lena could ask what he meant, a teacher approached. Noah immediately stood, grabbed his tray, and walked away without another word. The next day, Noah was gone. His seat in every class sat empty. When Lena asked Priya where he was, Priya frowned. "Who?" "Noah. He sits in the dining hall, tall, dark hair, reverse memory index." Without hesitation, she pulled it. The machine screamed. Blue light surged through the chamber like lightning. The engraved rings spun violently. The walls trembled. Then the names. Every crossed-out name on the walls began to glow. Voices filled the room, hundreds of them, overlapping, whispering, shouting, crying out as if waking from a long sleep. The chamber doors burst open. Across Blackthorn Academy, forgotten memories came flooding back. Students froze in hallways as faces they had once known returned to them. Teachers dropped books as names resurfaced in their minds. Dorm rooms seemed suddenly fuller, photographs restoring themselves before astonished eyes. Noah stumbled into existence in the corridor above, gasping as though surfacing from deep water. Daniel Mercer awoke in a hospital hundreds of miles away, remembered at last by a family who had spent decades sensing an absence they could never explain. Dr. Voss staggered backward, horrified. "Do you realize what you've done?" he shouted. "I fixed it," Lena replied. The retention engine overloaded, its glass chambers shattered. Brass gears tore free. A shockwave blasted through the underground complex. Lena and Priya barely escaped before the chamber collapsed in on itself. By morning, Blackthorn Academy was in chaos. Authorities arrived, investigations were launched, secret records were uncovered. Families came forward with stories of children, siblings, and friends who had vanished from memory. Dr. Voss was arrested, though some claimed he seemed genuinely confused, as if even he could no longer remember the full extent of what he had done. Blackthorn Academy closed indefinitely. Its gates were locked. Its halls fell silent. Months later, Lena received a letter with no return address. Inside was a simple note. "Thank you for remembering us." Beneath the words was a list of names, dozens of them. Names once lost, names restored. Lena kept the letter tucked inside her journal. Sometimes she would reread it, tracing each name with her finger, making sure none were ever forgotten again. But every so often, late at night, she would dream of Blackthorn, of the underground chamber, of the glowing names on the walls, and in the final moments before waking, she would hear the faint turning of gears. Because when investigators excavated the ruins beneath the school, they found no trace of the retention engine, no broken gears, no shattered glass, no machinery at all, only an empty chamber. And on the far wall, freshly carved into stone, 3 words: "Memory never dies." So tell me, if everyone around you suddenly forgot someone you loved, would you fight to remember them? Or would you start to wonder if they had ever existed at all? And if you discovered a place that could erase people from history itself, would you dare step inside? Subscribe for more chilling mysteries, unforgettable stories, and secrets that refuse to stay buried. Because sometimes, the scariest things aren't the ones hiding in the dark. They're the ones the world was never meant to remember.